Okay, we already have created a nice little surface. We've already shown it. We use the property line, use an offset of the property line to trim down our surface so that it just covers the area that we're concerned about. And so that's where we're going to go ahead and start right now. Remember, our surface is called initial ground. And the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the idea of features and feature lines and things like that. So because of that, we really don't need our surface right now. We're going to come in and we're going to deal with it in a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create some feature lines, how to edit them, move things around like that, and we'll just kind of go from there. Okay, so let me come over to initial ground, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit select. I'm going to right click, and with it selected, over here right click, hide selected objects. There we go. Good, that got rid of that area, but it's still, we have our XREF area just so I can kind of figure out where I'm going to put different things or whatever. Now, the reason why I did that, let me zoom in here a little bit, is I wanted to talk about the whole idea of creating features for your for your project. Now, these can be a lot of things. These can be building pads. These can be retention ponds. These can be all sorts of stuff that you can create. Center lines of roads, edge of curb, all these things can be features of your of your project. And so what we're basically going to do here is we're just going to create a quick little feature so we can kind of go over the rules and how we can edit it and all, and then what we'll do next is we'll grade it on the next step. So let's mess around with our feature lines. First thing that you need to understand with Civil 3D is Civil 3D, you can draw a regular line in Civil 3D. There's no problem with that. But what Civil 3D really likes is what's called polylines. And if you've never messed around with polylines before, they're in AutoCAD. But they have a little bit more data in them than a regular line, and each little part that you make of a polyline is not some completely separate segment. It's related to the other parts, and so polylines are real popular in this program. And so whenever you draw something, remember that you want to make it a polyline. And so let me show you how you do that. It's real easy. Polyline is either type in polyline or PL. That's polyline. And you can go over and you can draw your line. And so if I draw it just like this, and let me just close that. This is my polyline. If you look, you see when I click on one of the segments, they are each connected to the other. The end point of this one is the beginning point of this one and all that. That's a polyline. Now, like I said, Civil 3D likes that polylines. But let's say you are bringing in data and you're trying to figure out what to do with some data that you're bringing in that's actually not set up as polylines, or actually were drawn as regular lines. Well, we can deal with that too. Let me come in. I'm going to type in line, and I'm going to just draw me something here. And we'll just type in C for close and close that off. Now in this case, this is individual lines. Each of these have their own little thing. They're not connected to the others. But this is what we are given. We want to use that for our features. Well, that's going to be real easy. The way you fix that is a command called PEdit. And what that stands for is Polyline Edit. And if you type it in, PEdit, right there, and hit, it's going to say, hey, select a polyline. Now you might be thinking, okay, why are you giving me this? I don't have a polyline. That's what I want to solve. Well, with PEdit, it understands that. Let me go over and click on this line, and it says, hey, you didn't on a polyline, you clicked on a regular line. Do you want to turn it into one? And you type in Y, or you just hit enter, and it's going to turn that one into a polyline. And then it has a bunch of different edit commands. Now, I could have a whole lot of fun with some of the things that we can do here, but the one that I'm really interested in is the idea of join. And if I click on that and then select all those other lines and hit enter, and let me just hit enter again to get out of the command, now my individual lines are now a polyline. So there's your two ways to create a polyline. Alright, so it's like, great, you talked about polylines, but I thought you were going to deal with features. Well, let me go ahead and show you how we're going to create a feature. Because we have a polyline, what we can do is we can create a feature line from that. And so here's feature lines up here, and if I open that up, you can see all the different ways you can create a feature line. A lot of them you can actually create from things like stepped offset. That sounds familiar. You can create a feature line from dynamic grading feature. Ooh, I like that. You can create a feature line from alignments, and you can create feature lines from objects. You can also draw in a feature line as a feature line, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to create it from an object. And I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to pick this guy right here, and I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to bring up this dialog box. You'll get used to these whenever you're creating. What this is doing is, when you're working on your project, this is helping the program organize your data. So it knows where to go and where to put it. And it's basically trying to figure out where the heck it's going to put it into here. So the first thing it asks is, hey, what site do you want to put this in? Now, your sites will be the areas that you're working in your thing. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and stick to the original site 1, but maybe I have part of my property is where all of the physical plant stuff is going to be, and so maybe that's one site, and the other site is where the buildings are going to be, and that'd be another site. And so you can divide it out that way. We're just going to stick to site 1 right now. The name of the object that I'm going to give is feature, and I'm going to rename this ground pad. And then it's going to ask me, okay, well, what style do you want? I would suggest right now just keep it as is, but you could change it later. This says what layer it's going to put it on. These are already created layers so that you can find them later. And so you can put all that in. Now, you'll also notice down here it says erase existing entities. If you still want that polyline for something later, then go ahead and uncheck this box. Otherwise, it's just going to convert your polyline to your new feature line. So you can select that. One of the other options are that you can assign the elevations. Now, this is going to be real important when we're dealing with our surfaces. But for right now, we're going to be assigning our elevations in a separate command so I can show you it. So I'm going to leave that unchecked, and then you can weed points, and that's also somewhat useful, but we're going to go ahead and leave that off too because it's not important for what we're doing. We're just going to hit OK. And if you notice, it makes our nice little feature line. And so let me just show you one more time. Feature line, create lines from objects, pick your polyline, hit enter. I'll call this feature let's call it draining pool. I have no earthly idea what to call it. That sounds good, and hit OK. And there's my two feature lines. So that's creating a feature line. The next video, we're actually going to show how to grade it and everything like that. Okay, so we went over, we created a polyline, we converted it to a feature line by going up to feature line and selecting create feature lines from objects, filled out the data, and created a new feature line. So that was really what we got done in this video. When we come back, like I said, we're going to come in and mess with this.